Your bank balance is lying to you. Welcome to Simplified Sparky Marketing. This is very fresh in my head because I'm just after putting a session together for the guys inside the mentorship. It's going to be the podcast for today, and it is about your money getting paid properly, paying your wages, paying your tax, paying your super and all of that. Something that I didn't do properly for a few years when I started the business. And it leads to a few little mental changes when you do start paying yourself correctly, and kind of what you adapt your brain to do and your business is you get used to living off half nothing, and you get used to a lifestyle where you just kind of take it for granted. You go to work, your money goes into the bank account from your clients that pay, if you have got good paying clients, and you duck and dive in out of the bank account and you pay yourself when you kind of want it, or you might leave it sit for a few months and then you decide to pay yourself, which isn't the correct way to do it. If you have an electrical business, you should treat it like a business and not treat it just like a job that spits out money every now and then that you pull a bit of cash out. And when you do pull the cash out, it's probably not allocated correctly. If it was for wages, if it was a director's drawing, if it was a dividend, if it was for tax money or what it was, maybe you don't put it down as anything and you hope that the accountant will just tuck it somewhere and nothing is said. One of the main reasons you need to be paying yourself properly is you want the business to be a vehicle that funds your lifestyle. If you've got employees, absolutely, those guys get paid, you get paid. But something that blew my mind, I was at a meeting probably about over a year ago. We were in a brewery, we were sat down there's a whole heap of sparkies around, and I was chatting to a guy and he was just after taking on a worker. So he was just after employing full-time electrician, and I was like, fucking awesome news, brilliant. And the guy was excited. And just before that, he was telling me what he was earning, and I'm not going to say what it was, but it wasn't much, or the wage he was taking out of the company, and it wasn't much. And then we continued the conversation. We spoke about how the new guy was starting, and I said, just out of curiosity, what are you paying that guy? Like, what's the going rate? Because a few months before that, I was employing a guy, so I was curious. So he told me what he was paying him, and I'm not going to say that either because then you can work out the rest of the math. So he then told me that it was X amount per hour, and I just kind of stopped and I paused and I said, you do realize that that worker is going to be earning more money than you know. Like, I knew off what he told me that the take-home pay, give or take, I knew accurately what that would be. It was nearly like $300-$500 more than he was taking as a wage. And it's something that fucking blows my mind is people don't steady the ship. Electricians don't steady the ship of their own business, and they start scaling a loss by taking on staff. I need more staff to keep up with the work. How about you crank up your hourly rate a little bit? It could be $5, it could be $10 an hour, it could be $20 an hour. And start losing the shitty jobs, which frees up time for the good jobs that you can charge correctly, that you don't have to race around like a headless chicken, hire a staff member to do the shitty jobs, and realize that if you're dialed in with your profit and loss, you'll realize you're better off running without that staff member. What I love and admire is people that set up the business correctly from the get-go. They pay themselves a proper wage. They're like, I'm killing it. I'm getting good money coming in. I've got profit. I'm paying my wages correctly to industry standard. And it works out better me having a business than working for somebody on wages. Now it's time to start looking at a staff member when you're making money, not hemorrhaging money like before. What happens is a lot of people leave their well-paying job. It could be an EBA job. They could be getting $60 an hour plus bells and whistles, and they leave to start their own gig. They're cashed up from their previous job, and they just kind of take it as a given that they don't have to actually pay themselves properly because they can live off their wages, which they've been building up and saving. So they end up digging into their existing wages and not charging correctly, not getting the correct income. The bad thing about this is if you start off badly and you don't pay yourself correctly from the get-go, you kind of get used to it. You start not being frugal, but you understand what you've got to play with every week. You probably aren't going on holidays too often. What I see as well is a lot of young guys are actually still living at home with their parents and stuff. So they're not taking into consideration a few things. If they were to actually pay rent on a place that they were renting, that would be a couple of $100s a week that they're not paying for now. They probably have to pay for food and stuff like that because maybe their mum or dad is cooking for them at home. There's all these little factors. And the thing is, if you set up your business like this from the start, where you're undercharging your client and you're underpaying yourself, that's where it's a nasty recipe to build up a cheap client base. Because what will happen is you'll be going in relatively cheap because you feel like you don't really need to charge it because, hey, I'm just a one-man band. And what happens is they refer you to clients. Yes, you're super busy, but your rates are super low. And then what happens is you start realizing, let's say you move out of home, something comes up, you need money for something. So you're like, shit, I better start charging more. So your rate goes from X to Y, and now your existing client base isn't happy with you because all of a sudden you're seen as greedy, as a rip-off. You've built up this client base who are used to your lower prices, and all of a sudden they go up. You're better off starting your business on a high. One of the members of staff coming on board it's phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. He's basically gone out the clappers. He's starting his hourly rate over $200 an hour. And I was like, holy fuck, you're actually on the right trajectory. We just need to embed the systems into place that can get you more work, which he's already killing. And it blew my mind because most of the people I speak to have got the opposite mindset where they try to win work cheaply. But this guy's mindset was 100% that he's like, fuck it, that's my value. I'm not desperate for the work because he was full-time employed. He wasn't desperate for the work. And I think that's a big thing. And I did a few podcasts ago, but when is the correct time to start your business? The worst thing you can do is be broke as fuck, start your business, and then be desperate for work. That's the worst way you can start your business. If you are in that position, go back and listen to that a few podcasts ago. When's the correct time to start your electrical business? But I just see so many patterns here. And another thing as well is if you're looking to possibly get a home loan or finance on a vehicle or something like that, if you don't have a consistent wage being paid into your personal bank account from the business as well, it's not going to reflect well. It's not going to be a good look, and you most likely will get shot down. If you're just ducking bits of money out of the company every few weeks or every few months, it's just not consistent, and it's like it's going to put you on the chopping board if you even can get a loan. One of the bad things that you can do as well is actually look at your bank account as your North Star to see if that is where your wages or what kind of money is in your business, because it's false. If you look at your bank account, you may not realize it, but your supplier bill has yet to come out of that. Your overheads have got to come out of that. Your tax bill has got to come out of that. Your PAYG has got to come out of that. And there's a lot of things that are, they're not taken out yet, but they're coming. And I think that's where it's vital when you set up your P&L correctly inside Xero or whatever financial software that you are using. That's what I look at to keep score. I look at my P&L and I scroll down the bottom and I see if I'm winning or losing. And that is the correct way to do it, because that is going to take into consideration in real time. For example, I use TLE as my electrical supplier. They're part of the MMEM group. There's an integration that I've integrated with the job management software and Xero that when I purchase something in TLE, it will immediately, once I get that email, it will flick across to my Xero and it will recognize it on my P&L. So it will say, let's say it was $1,000 worth of material. It will now gear that off of the P&L. So if I was positive 10 grand, it's now going to be positive 9 grand. It's real time. I've also set this up with Voltex, just with a few automations that automatically goes across into my P&L as well. So if I buy something from Voltex, it'll immediately come off my P&L. But if I send out an invoice for works that's been done, it will go up again, etc., etc. So it's the P&L you need to keep eyes on. It's not your bank balance is the worst thing that you can be doing. And that's something I'm going to speak about on that session as well with the guys, is the fact of setting up a few different bank accounts. Not even that many, even one extra bank account will do the trick, but there's a method behind the madness and it makes it all congruent. It makes it all visually pleasing that you know what's going on. It's the wrong way to do it, looking at your bank account instead of your P&L. I mean, you really need to stop and think about, like, why did you start the business? Why did we all start the business? I think we start business because we've got this dream of getting the luxury of freedom and great wages. Most business owners don't have any freedom. Sparkies in particular don't have any freedom, and they're paying themselves a bad wage. So you really need to get this on track. And look, finances aren't my forte. I just know about them because I've got the business and I deal with this, and I've got enough knowledge that I can set it up correctly, and that I have done for myself in my own electrical business. Numbers and all of that, or the accounting side of things, not really for me. That's where you need to speak to a good accountant. I can't stress enough, a good accountant, Because I've heard some stories of an accountant told me this or an accountant told me that, and it's incorrect, particularly when it comes to hourly rates and stuff like that. It's absolutely clueless. It's more about setting your system up correctly that you can look at it as a dashboard. If you're not familiar with the book Profit First as well, there is a book out there called Profit First, and there's a lady in Australia as well as actually, she's done the version for tradies, so it's Profit First for tradies. And I would highly suggest you check out that book. I practice some of what's in that book. Be all and end all of that book really is to change your mindset, to open up your eyes when you do shift money out of the bank accounts, that money is no longer left. So just like I was mentioning about the P&L, it's kind of the same principle, but they get you to set up a lot of bank accounts. Let's just say I think it's between 5 and 7 or 8 bank accounts where you move money around. And the whole theory behind the book is you pay yourself the profit first. So it's real. You've paid yourself the profit. Now the reality is your business is only sitting at X amount. You can't go off and buy that brand new ute. You can't go off and get the sign writing done and pay directly for it. You can't, hire a staff member because you don't have enough money in the bank account. Those kind of things is what that's about. So if you haven't heard of that or read that book, I would highly advise you to check it out. So there's Profit First by Mike McAllowitz is the main guy. And then Katie is the lady behind the Profit First for Tradies, which is ideal for you if you're an electrician. I hope you're an electrician. And check it out. And it's just a simplified version that she did for trades business owners, which is fantastic. That is needed. Check that book out as well, because that is going to give you guidance as well on how your company should be operating. I would get into a habit and get into a routine. Something I speak about as well is just setting up automations where it's pretty much set and forget. All I do inside my business bank account, my virtual assistant does it. Inside in Xero, she clicks a button and sends the payroll every week in the pay run. I automatically then get an email to my personal account saying that I've been paid every week consistently. As I've spoken about in previous podcasts, I go overseas for a number of weeks. That wage still comes in. So just want to leave you sit on this one final thing, and that is you should be setting this up for success from the get-go. This shouldn't be a thing you set up in 3 years' time, or I'm just starting my business, I'll do it next week. Paying yourself is the most important thing in business. It's like, why fucking bother otherwise? And you have to, your business should serve your life, not swallow it. So paying yourself properly is where it starts. Even if it is this week, you go about setting up yourself getting paid automatically every week. Even if it's $500 this month and you creep it up to $600 next, $700, $800 each month, you creep it up and you make it a thing that you do, a process, a task you set yourself, that every month you start creeping it up until you're reaching a wage that you're comfortable with. I mean, honestly, if you have a look on Seek, you could get a job from anywhere from 120,000 a year up to 190 plus a year as an employee. If you're paying yourself sub 100 grand, you really have to stop and consider what's going wrong. Now, I don't mind it if you're just starting the business, you're getting your bearings, you're wanting to take a little bit of a lower wage, but the main fucking thing is you've got a plan in place. There's no point in you, if I'm to chat to you and you're to say to me, I'm taking 90 grand, but I don't have any plan going forward. I'm going to consistently pay myself 90 grand because what's going to happen is you'll skip to next year, the year after, and the year after that at 90 grand, and you won't have a trajectory or a plan in place to get yourself the proper decent wage you need. Set it up as an automation. Just make sure that the money goes into your bank account, the money goes to your super, the money goes to your PAYG account, etc., etc. Set your business up for success today. Otherwise, you're going to be doing the exact same shit you did last year. Set your business up correctly today, because otherwise you're going to be chasing your tail in 12 months' time saying, why didn't I do that? I'm in the exact same situation I was last year. And if you're wondering to yourself, how do I get that money that I can actually pay myself the correct wage? It all stems back to having the correct clients and having a marketing plan for your business and a flywheel in place. Get off the podcast, go pay yourself some wages, and I'll catch you next week.